booktube. I am here today and I am officially starting ACOTAR. I have actually never read this series, which I feel like is kind of shocking considering I love romantasy so much. And I have delved into some of the more popular books. Like, I love Fourth Wing, and that is like one of the most popular series. One of the ones I would say that is like on par in popularity with ACOTAR. I've actually never read anything by Sarah J. Maas, so I am super excited. I am homesick today, so I am just going to be diving into this series, and I think I'm going to try to make like a long form sort of vlog style video where I give updates and, thoughts, feelings throughout the book as I'm reading. So we're going to see how that goes. I am somebody that when I read a series, I typically want to read every single book back to back to back. So sometimes even a 5-book series feels like a big commitment to me because, then I'm going to be reading those 5 books in a row instead of like the million other things on my TBR. This was one of the series that was on my 26 books for 2026. So it feels right to me that now is the time that we're going to get to it. So stay tuned for more updates, and I'll see you after I've started. So I have my first little update. I'm currently on page 103. I'm about to start chapter 12. I will say this is going to be probably full spoiler or pretty close to it, just because I feel like that's going to allow me to talk more freely about my thoughts and feelings about the book. So far, I'm really enjoying it. I spent about an hour reading it today, maybe like an hour, 20 minutes, and was able to knock out those first 100 pages. One thing I will say is I do already know a pretty massive spoiler about the series, which is that Feyre ends up with Rhysand. So during this time that we're seeing her with Tamlin, there is kind of a part of me that's like, I feel like we're waiting for something to happen. I think I probably wouldn't feel that way if I didn't know that she was going to end up with someone other than Tamlin. Also, I know like a lot of people hate Tamlin, which I'm assuming that something is going to happen in this book or one of the following books later on that's going to cause that, because as of right now, like, I don't know, he's not that bad. Like, he just kind of seems like a typical broody MMC. Like, he just seems like a broody, like, yeah, he's kind of a dick, but like, he said some funny stuff, and like, personally, I love a blonde man, so I don't know. Like, at the moment, I'm liking him. I will say one of the other things is I'm really curious to know more about Feyre's like dynamic and relationship with her family, because it is shown in here that she is the youngest out of her siblings. And I know we've seen some of their personalities, and that could kind of be the reason why she ended up in this like caretaker role. But I am super interested to see like how the youngest daughter of a family would become the one like taking care of everybody as like the eldest daughter. That's just like so foreign to me. The eldest is typically the one who does that, so I am really curious to like know more about how that happened and how that kind of dynamic like formed. But overall, I'm really enjoying it. I do kind of wish that I didn't know that spoiler about Feyre and Rhysand, because I feel like I would be enjoying it just a little bit more if I wasn't waiting for that other shoe to drop, essentially. But yeah, I'm liking it so far. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through this, finish it maybe in the next couple of days, and hopefully I'll have another update for you soon. I am back with another reading update. So last time I checked in with the vlog, I was on chapter 8. Now I have moved on. I'm on chapter 26. And I have a lot of thoughts that I've written down during this time. So one is that I'm getting this really intense feeling of like deja vu and like nostalgia as I am reading, like specifically the scenes where they are at Tamlin's estate and when Feyre is like in the gardens and stuff. I can't really explain it. I don't really know if it's because I've read stories that are similar. I don't know if it's like just the Fae and the setting in general. I don't know if it's kind of like the vague Beauty and the Beastness of it all. Like, I'm really not sure, but I'm definitely getting this like major sense of like deja vu and nostalgia while I'm reading. One of the other things I really wanted to discuss is, as somebody who is an artist and a painter, I love the way Feyre sees the world. And I love that she's constantly relating everything back to her paintings and her artwork and like seeing things through that lens, because it's something that I feel like I really relate to. And it's something that I can really understand. And I feel like I really connect with Feyre's character because of that. I also think that there are so many like beautiful evocative descriptions in the book, like the way that Feyre describes things because of the way she sees the world. I feel like is just so like vivid and evocative. And I've actually tabbed down, I don't know if you can see, you kind of can't see on camera, but there are a couple of little blue tabs in here, and I have marked some things down that I want to try to paint from this book because I think it would be really, really fun to try to do that. So, actual plot wise, I definitely am still, unfortunately, having this feeling of kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. I really wish that I didn't know that Feyre ends up with Rhysand, because I feel like if I didn't know that, I would be able to be more immersed in what's happening with her and Tamlin. That being said, I really like Tamlin. Like, at this point, I really like him. Like, he's hot. He did the little biting thing to her neck, like at the after the like first Fae holiday that they experience. Like, he's hot. And at this point, I'm like 10 toes down, like she should smash. But then I know, because now we've met Rhysand. The point that I'm at in the book now, we have met Rhysand, and Feyre says the quote of like, standing before me was the most beautiful man I've ever seen. And I literally wrote in my notes, and I was like, before moving on to the next chapter, because that's the end of one chapter, I literally wrote down, oh my god, it's gonna be Rhysand, like giggling and kicking my feet. But at the same time, like, I really like Tamlin right now. And I almost wish I didn't know that information about Feyre and Rhysand ending up together, because I feel like if I didn't know that, I would be able to be a little bit more immersed in this rather than having this just feel like exposition. That being said, I love like hearing about all the lore, like getting into the setting, getting into like Feyre's mind. I'm really liking getting to know Tamlin. Like, I do actually really like Tamlin, but it also makes me wonder, like, people it also really makes me wonder, people really don't like Tamlin. So I'm like, why? Like, what is going to happen that causes everybody to hate him? Like, what is going to happen there? Last couple things that I'll mention in this specific update. So there's the quote where Feyre is like, she's sitting with Tamlin, and it's after like the summer solstice festival, and they're up on this little hill, like looking out at this glen, and she's like, it was the happiest moment of my life. And I just, like, my heart is breaking. Like, I want her to be happy, because like, poor girl has fucking struggled and she's really suffered. So I'm like, I want her to be happy. So I don't know. That also connects back to the thoughts and feelings about Tamlin, because I'm like, she's having the happiest moment of her life and she's with Tamlin. So I don't know. I am a little bit over the halfway mark now. Like I said, I'm at chapter 26. So I am super excited. I'm hoping over the next couple days I'll be able to power through this last portion of the book and, give my full thoughts and feelings on everything, because this has been really fun so far. That being said, I have started working on some little ideas for making some paintings inspired by the book. I did 2 little like watercolor sketches earlier today, so I figured I'd show them on here. and I did a bunch of like little trials of like the will-o'-the-wisps, and I did this tiny little watercolor that, I mean, obviously this is daytime, but I just wanted to kind of do like a concept sketch planning out what I was gonna do in painting that will-o'-the-wisp scene with Tamlin and Feyre. So stay tuned for more art if that is your thing. But yeah, that's the end of this update, and hopefully I'll see you very soon for the next one. I'm back with another ACOTAR update. So I've gotten to page 313, and Amarantha has just given Feyre the riddle, and the answer's gonna be love, right? Love or true love is gonna be the answer. Am I insane? Am I losing it? Oh, do you say I'm right? Thank you, son. But I think I'm correct, no? Maybe. I literally just read it, and I reread the riddle like 3 times, and I was like, I have to film my prediction now rather than just writing it down, because I really wanted it to be like 100% authentic. Like, I just thought of it and decided to film it. So we're here. That is my prediction. I don't know if that's going to be correct, but I have a feeling that it is going to be right. So there we go. That's prediction. I'm loving where we're at in the book. I feel like, the stakes have always been kind of high, but I feel like the stakes really were like turned up to like 100, and things are getting really, really serious now. So I'm excited. I'm excited to keep reading and like see where we end up. I'm literally like in my pajamas, but we do what we gotta do for the vlog. So I'll see you after my next update. So I have officially finished ACOTAR. I have so many thoughts. We are going to try to somewhat eloquently get through them. I have a ton of notes on my phone. So I have a lot of thoughts, as I said. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I will say, knowing the spoiler aspect of Feyre ending up with Rhysand instead of Tamlin definitely did put a big damper on this book for me, because I felt like it was all exposition. Like, it's all the beginning of this story rather than a story in its own right, if that makes sense. And I don't think that that's any reflection on Sarah J. Maas or her writing. I think that's more of a reflection of the fact that the online fandom community does like talk about Rhysand and Feyre so much. And like, I had seen fan art of them and stuff, so I knew that they were endgame, but we end this book and she's still with Tamlin, which I didn't expect. I thought for sure by the end of book 1 that she would be with Rhysand, but I feel like there was that aspect of me kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop, like waiting to see what happens. In that same vein with the spoiler, also, like, I know that a bunch of people in the fandom, the majority of people in the fandom, hate Tamlin, and I'm just wondering what it is that's going to happen. Like, I'm just waiting for that plot point because I know that it's coming, and I think that that definitely altered the reading experience that I could have had if I didn't know those things. So, yeah, my real big negative, more critical aspect of reading this book and reviewing it is really just that in knowing that Feyre ends up with Rhysand, it really just feels like so much exposition as opposed to a fully fledged story. And like, I'm just continually waiting for something else to happen because I'm waiting for her to get together with Rhysand. I also will say I really, really like Tamlin. And I think that at this point, you know, even at the end of this book, we're all supposed to still really like Tamlin. So I am also wondering, what is he gonna do that is so horrible that makes everybody hate him so much? Like I'm really, really waiting for it because, like, having read this, I was thinking the other night about the part where he, like, wrote her those 5 poems to help her learn to read. And I was like, I'm losing it. Like, that's like the cutest thing I've ever heard. Like, how is it that we're going to end up disliking Tamlin? In that same vein, I do wonder more about, like, his beef with Rhysand. Like, I know that there's the stuff with Amarantha and everything, but I'm wondering what their specific, like, beef and dislike of each other is. So the last thing I'll say about the spoiler and about, my feelings about that while reading is just that I understand that this book has been out for like 10 years. So I do understand why people talk about it without having as much concern for the spoiler warnings. Like, I really do get that. I just think that it still would have been better if I didn't know that spoiler. So now we will move on to some of the positives and some of my predictions for the rest of the series. My main favorite thing about this book was Feyre. I really love her character. I feel like I really connected with her character, especially when she's talking about, like, painting and how she feels about that and how she sees the world and moves through the world because she has that kind of artist's eye, I guess. I really, really liked that about her. I felt like it made the descriptions of the scenery super vivid, super, like, evocative, emotional, very, very beautiful. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of the book. I thought that was really, really great. A couple of my predictions. So, thinking about Nesta and how she was immune to the glamour, and also kind of thinking about how much she dislikes their father, and I'm pretty sure Nesta is the oldest. She was like the firstborn. I am wondering if Nesta is going to end up being part Fae because her and Elaine both had iron jewelry on when Tamlin comes in his, like, beast form to the house to come get Feyre after she has killed Andras. Like, they both have on iron jewelry, and Nesta is the only one who out of the family who can resist the glamour and it doesn't, like, affect her in any way. So I'm wondering if that's going to end up being part of the story, that maybe Nesta is like demi-fae, half-fae, whatever it might be. Another one of my kind of predictions questions is at the end we see Feyre and Rhysand, they're talking outside on that balcony, like on the side of the mountain, and he, like, looks at her and kind of has this, like, pause, and then he just, like, dips, like, he just, like, leaves. And I am wondering if perhaps there is going to be, like, a fated mates aspect of this book, and that is going to be why he ran away, because seeing Feyre in her actual Fae form is going to be, like, too much for him. Going back to the ending, that was something that I really, really liked as well. I liked the way that the magic and Feyre becoming a high fae, I liked the way that it was done. I liked that it, like, wasn't overly complicated. It really just relied on the magic of the world and the reader to just believe it, which I really, really liked. I felt like that was done really, really well, and it was super interesting, and that was something that I really enjoyed. I guess my final, like, prediction with regards to where we're going in, like, the next couple books after this, I am guessing that Amarantha is going to be still alive in some capacity, considering that it's mentioned in here that Jurian's eye and his bone have disappeared. Like how Feyre ends up going into Rhysand's body for a little bit while she is undergoing her, like, transformation and being revived. I am wondering if Amarantha has kind of gone into one of her, like, servants, subjects, and is going to come back as a villain later in this series. I think that is definitely like a strong possibility. So, a couple more things. I really liked how the tasks and like trials were done in this book. I felt like they were pretty unique and pretty different to what I have read in other books. I was very surprised by the ending. I was expecting the final Fae to be Lucian, but instead, obviously, it was Tamlin. I really liked the way that was done. I thought that was really interesting. I liked that the riddle was still relevant, even though she did complete all three tasks and did, succeed. Also, I will say, I guessed the riddle almost immediately, and I'm very proud of myself for that. Would I have guessed it in this life or death situation if I was Farah? Probably not. But sitting on my couch reading the riddle like 3 or 4 times in a row and thinking about it, I got that. But yeah, that was another aspect of the book I really enjoyed. I love that when I was reading the book, I wrote down, is it going to be Rhysand or Lucian who is betting on her? And it's Rhysand, which I just think was so great. I also felt like, to me, it was pretty obvious that he was not just helping Feyre out of the goodness of his heart, but rather because he doesn't want to be a slave to Amarantha anymore, which that whole aspect of his like servitude to her is like really sad. Like, it's sad that he's been in this kind of situation and like people are mean to him about it, but he's also like miserable, like having to be like a servant to her in that way. When like the servants are like painting her and they're getting ready to like take her out because she's now going to be like his escort at these parties, that was crazy. The first scene where we see that did definitely give me a bit of an ick with regards to Rhysand, because I'm like, dog, what are you doing? But then as we get further in, we realize he's really not doing anything super untoward towards her. It's really just to get a rise out of Tamlin and I think by extension Amarantha a little bit. The scene in here where she's kissing Tamlin and then Rhysand comes in and kisses her because he knows that Amarantha is going to follow and is going to see, that was like crazy, and I was giggling and kicking my feet. Like, that was so good, and I thought that was really, really well done. Now we're going to get into some of the quotes and just some of the like random thoughts that I've had. One of the things that I was thinking about is when I read the scene where she's in her like cell and Rhysand comes and he like licks the tears off her cheek. I was freaking cracking up when I was reading that. Like, that was so, so funny to me, and I really enjoyed it. The quote with regards to the second task where Feyre says, I couldn't read and it almost killed me, like that like broke my heart in a way. I feel like, especially given like the political and like social climate of the world right now, I felt like that in particular is like super relevant. There are a couple other quotes that I had really wanted to touch on in this video, so I'm searching through here to find them. Oh, here's one of them. So this is from page 410. This is after Feyre has become High Fae. She has succeeded in the trials. She's freed the Spring Court. And she says, this was what I had murdered those fairies for. Their deaths had not been in vain, and yet the blood on me had been gone when I'd awoken, as if becoming an immortal, as if surviving, somehow earned me the right to wash their blood off me. Like, that just went so hard. And then the other quote that really got me, and this one's like much more simple, but it's Feyre talking to Rhysand, and he goes, because, he went on, his eyes locked with mine, I didn't want you to fight alone or die alone. Like, no, slay. So, yeah, those were just some quotes that I really, really enjoyed. Again, I loved Feyre's character. I love the way she sees the world. I felt like I could really connect with her. I'm very excited to learn more about her and like her family dynamic. I know we learn a lot about that at the beginning of this book, but I am just so curious as to how she ended up as the caretaker of her family, being like the youngest daughter, because I feel like that's not typically how things go. So I am super excited to get to know like her sisters more as well, especially with, as I said, with my prediction about Nesta possibly being part Fae. I think that is going to be really, really interesting to see and hopefully see explored in the later books. Just a few final thoughts before concluding this video. So for some reason, I went into this series thinking that it was interconnected standalones, which I think is also another part of the reason why I was waiting for Feyre and Rhysand to get together in book one, because I thought that the first two books followed Feyre and Rhysand, and then the next books had different main characters. I didn't realize that I'm pretty sure the whole series follows Feyre and Rhysand as the main characters, and then there is like a large cast of other side characters. Again, I feel like I could be wrong about that because I was wrong about thinking that they were interconnected standalones in the first place, which is also funny. Like, I don't know why I thought that, but I just did. One of the other things I wanted to touch on before finishing this video is I see a lot of people refer to this as fairy smut, and I just have to say, where? There was one full spicy scene in this entire book. Closer to, like, I guess maybe like 1.5 if you want to count the scene at the end with her and Tamlin. But there was literally one spicy scene in this whole book, which again, like, that's a neutral point. Like, for me personally, I don't need a book to have spice to be good. I tend to prefer a more adult-oriented story, which often includes spice, and I do like spicy scenes, but I feel like people talk about this like it's like so crazy, and I'm like, you have a whole other world to explore if that's what you think. That was just another point that I wanted to include in this video because I felt like it was relevant to me. I don't know. The last thing I really wanted to touch on with regards to this series as a whole. So I did enjoy this book. I will say I have read other Fae romantasies, and specifically I've read other Fae and other romantasies that feel more high stakes than this. So while I am enjoying this, and I feel like it's like a giggle and kick your feet good time, and while I enjoyed the level of stakes that was present in this first book, I'm interested to see if in the next books does it really ramp up, and is there like crazy like world ending conflict, kind of like with the Blight and with Amarantha controlling the Spring Court. Like, is there more of that? Is that going to get worse? Or is it going to continue to kind of be like slightly lower level, like fun and still interesting, but just not quite as high stakes as some of the other romantasy that I've read? I am really interested to see that. Overall, I thought this was an enjoyable read. There were parts of it, like I said, giggling, kicking my feet, parts of it that were so fun. I did have a couple of criticisms of the book, but overall, I did really enjoy it, and I thought this was a solid read. I am really excited. I'm going to immediately jump into book two. That will probably be a separate vlog, just so I can kind of keep these vlogs short and sweet, but definitely go check that out. It'll probably be uploaded about a week or so after this vlog is. But yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts on ACOTAR down in the comments. I'm super interested to see what other people think, especially because I know that this is like people's entry level romantasy, whereas I'm somebody who I've been reading romantasy for many years, and I am just now getting to this book. So I'm definitely curious to see if, you know, other people have different opinions, similar opinions, you know. Just let me know. I'm very curious. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making this, so you can definitely expect more reading vlogs from me on this channel. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope that I will see you in my next video.